When it comes to enduro, what does confidence mean to you? Perhaps it's fearlessness, excitement, certainty that you can do something, or perhaps it's something else. This is an important subject to me because it's most closely related to how much I actually enjoy riding, and it's also related to how well I ride. And when you're feeling confident, how do you recognize it? Sometimes I recognize my confidence while I'm actually riding. When I approach a challenging or a risky situation that requires precise, delicate control, and I don't feel fear. Of course, I didn't always have this kind of confidence. Confidence is something that we build over time and earn. I'm sure you'll be able to relate to my journey with confidence. So, during my first enduro rides, my buddies saw that I had some kind of confidence. I'd open the throttle, hang on, and sometimes I'd make it through the section, somehow. I think the DRZ is a great bike, and being a heavy 4-stroke machine, it plows through many things. Getting through obstacles by sheer luck actually gave me a false sense of my own skills, and I'd feel positive and hopeful even though I hadn't actually earned it. And then, when my luck would eventually run out, I'd lose traction or get stuck, and all that positivity evaporated. I'd feel fear, frustration, anger, and I'd feel scared. During the rest of the ride, and in following rides, I'd actually approach similar sections with fear and trepidation. Can you relate to that feeling when fake confidence suddenly evaporates? That was the period of my riding where I felt zero real confidence. Each fall made my fear bigger. Each repair came with a sense of shame. The problem was that my insecurity was growing because it was backed by experience. My technique was consistently out of the window, something perfectly typical of someone who's scared and not confident. I was putting myself in survival situations. My attention span was full. My automatic skills were those of road riding. If you've watched earlier episodes, you'll understand perfectly what I'm referring to and why they're significant. So, at this low point in my riding career, I made the decision that I wanted to be better. So, I worked hard at applying what I already knew, and I made it a priority to learn and train enduro. As I began focusing on my training, my confidence grew. I focused on the basics because I knew I had none, and I saw once again that practice makes progress, and it was tangible. I saw that I was on the same path as the incredible riders I'm riding. Enduro went from being a weekend hobby and a dream to a sport. My confidence was growing as I learned the right skills, and my fear was shrinking. When I would go riding with my friends and see myself using good technique on the trail as a result of my training, I felt more sure of myself and more at peace, and my mind was quieter. The skills I had trained were more automatic, and my attention span was free. Real confidence is quiet. It's not loud and all over the place, going from feeling on top of the world to then feeling like the smallest thing on earth. Now this brings me to humility, which is strongly tied to confidence. I developed my humility through my training. My training allows me to recognize what I can do and what I can't do, where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are. And all of it is absolutely fine. I have nothing to prove to myself or anyone, and I can make decisions on the trail without any bravado or fear. Every time I slip, I just pick the bike up and carry on. There is far less fear. This humility is practical. That's why I started drilling safety maneuvers, and why, when I knew I couldn't safely tackle a steep hill, I'd take the chicken line without shame, even if my friends joked about it. Do you remember the video about unlearning? Through humility and confidence, we know when to commit to a section and when to walk the bike or take the chicken line. Our humility and confidence are like reality checks. They tell us if we have the attention, the energy, and the skills to clean it, or whether we'll waste energy picking the bike up, or worse still, put ourselves in danger. So, I used to think humility is the opposite of confidence, but it's not. It's something that confidence is actually made from. So, it lets us see what we can clearly do and what we can't yet do, and then when to walk away and when to keep our progress in mind without being shameful. And it's all built on experience, training, and effective feedback. Because all of this, all of my inner voice has changed on the trail. Before, I would tell myself, don't mess up, not in those words. I was speaking to myself gripped in fear. Now, I coach myself through the section, and I tell myself keywords to remind myself of good form, like weight on the outside, bike upright, momentum. I can do this because there nearly isn't as much fear. And when I fall, I'm not so frustrated. I just pick up my bike and try again. This new confidence is far more practical, and I'm less judgmental. What does your inner voice sound like? Does it sound like more a critic or a coach? One tool that's really helped me is the logbook that I described in the previous video. I see all of the progress I've made, but I sometimes forget about it. Being able to review what I've done at home helps me to see my progress while I'm not on the trail. And it's a very good consolation when I've had a very bad ride and I feel bad about my riding. So, what's the takeaway here? Real confidence is found in humility. It's peaceful and it's quiet. It's earned through practice and it's proven through positive experience. And it can be recorded as something as simple as a notebook. When in doubt, look back at your riding and your training. Look at your notes, your videos, your memories of sections that used to scare you, but don't anymore. Ride with proof and not hope. And drop me a comment below.